If you watch the channel at all, you know that we're Mustang people. There's one currently in the stable, there's been two previously. But what a lot of people don't know, of course we've never really talked about it, is that one of the first cars in our stable ever was a Mopar. It was a 71 Charger 383 with a 727 in it. Had it in college. It was primer black, except for the hood, which was primer gray. So, you know, I had that rat rod thing going long before it was cool, right? Well, it was in college, not really practical, ended up dropping a valve, it blew up. At the end of the day, still like Mopars. I've always liked Mopars, a lot of stuff from the 60s. In fact, if you were to ask what our top 5 muscle cars of all time were, or one that I'd like to own, the 67 to 69 fastback Barracuda is pretty near the top. Well, we're having the opportunity to drive a current generation of Mopar muscle car, and that's the SRT8 Challenger. This one has the 6.4 Hemi in it. It's an automatic, unfortunately. Yes, we'd have liked the stick, but it showed up with an automatic. What are you gonna do? It's an interesting car because, as we said in the introduction, it's a big car. I mean, it's a really big car. If you think the Camaro is big, get inside the Challenger and you'll understand just how big a car it is. It actually has pretty good back seat room, to be honest with you, especially for like a 2+2 coupe. The front is huge, it's wide. You definitely feel the weight in it. I think the weight is a touch over 4,000 pounds as it sits right now. And it presents some problems. A, the weight, B, the size, and C, this is the top spec for the Challenger, this SRT8 version. And, you know, it's 450 plus horsepower and similar amount of torque, which sounds good, but then you realize that if it's a top flight one and it's going against, say, the Mustang GT500 or the ZL1 Camaro, it's down 100 to 200 horsepower on those vehicles. So is it really a muscle car or a pony car? My initial thought is no. It's more of a touring car, a grand touring car that's got power. One of the things that really is kind of mind-blowing is that if you're on the outside, it has a good sound. On the inside, and that's a bit of a detriment, honestly. I want more sound, I want more volume in a muscle car, but you know, that's a personal thing. One of the other issues that we're going to have, and we'll just get all the negative stuff out of the way, then we'll talk about the stuff that we really like, is the price tag on this thing. As it sits, as we're driving it now, $51,465. That's a lot of scratch. No kidding. You know, not trying to be light about it. That's a lot of money. And in certain areas, okay, I can almost justify the price. In other areas, you know, you get that kind of going for you because yes, it's based off a car that costs half that much when, you know, and it's 6-cylinder guys is just a looks kind of vehicle, the quote-unquote secretary's car. And other things, it's kind of unforgivable at almost a $52,000 price point. Most of the interior materials, I'll say, are pretty good. There's some plastics that should be replaced with something else. In the center console here, it's a shiny sort of metal look kind of thing, but it's plastic. As soon as you hit it, you know it's plastic. In the steering wheel, the inset here looks to be metal, but it's not. It's just a shiny hard plastic. It has a bit of a metal feel, but you can tell that it's not. The suede in here is actually kind of nice. The red inserts in the door, the red seats. The seats are very comfortable. You know, that's all good. but some of the dash material, I mean, yes, it's fine in a $30,000, maybe even a $40,000 car, but when you cross that $50,000 line, you're looking for something a little nicer, to be honest with you. You're paying for a motor, you're paying for brakes, essentially. The other thing that kills us with this, and it's something that basically prevented us from reviewing the Dodge Durango, is the infotainment system. We've gotten used to it a little more than when it was in the Durango, but it was so bad in the Durango that it totally distracted from everything else. In fact, I threw away the review because they spent so long railing against the infotainment system. And it did a disservice to the Durango because overall it was really good. It was an RT. It didn't really accelerate all that great. It made an awesome noise. It just, the acceleration didn't match the noise. So, but that's a side issue. But when we come back to the same infotainment system, which I believe is a Pioneer-based system, I could be wrong on that. It's pretty maddening. And this is an upgraded Harman Kardon system with 18 speakers. And I got to tell you, don't tick that box. Skip it. You're going to save yourself about $2,000. For $2,000, you can go out, find a good stereo shop, and get something installed that's going to blow this thing away. The sound is very average. The bass it's all in the trunk. You open the trunk and it's like, oh wow, there's a lot of bass in here. It doesn't transmit into the cabin. The sound is okay. And you essentially have to turn it up past 3/4 volume to have any kind of real volume in the car, which doesn't make sense because the car is so quiet. The navigation system that's built in it's fine. It's honestly, it's very average. You know what? And I guess what's maddening about this is when we reviewed the Dart, the Uconnect infotainment system in there was really good. I mean, it's, you know, sort of top of the line quality is across the industry, really. To be honest, there's a few that are better, but just how everything was integrated, the size of the screen, how easy it was to navigate through, it was great. This thing, I want to chuck it. I mean, it's just Okay, that's the stuff. That's sort of the big negatives. Let's talk about the good stuff. It rides really good until you put it into like full-on track trim, and then it's like being on a pogo stick. I mean, it's beyond stiff. I suppose going around a road course, that's great, but you're not going to want to put that if you're driving across any roads that have any kind of bumps. The traction control system in here, I still haven't got it figured out yet. Went to the forums, looked online, and said how to do it. Every time I try to do it, you know, it says traction control defeated, turned off. Well, you know, maybe it works in the stick, but in the automatic, if you go from idle, it turns itself off. If you try to brake torque it up and then launch, it turns itself off. I don't know. All you Mopar guys, chime in. Feel free to chime in. Tell me what an idiot we are, and you know that this is how you do it. Great, cool. Couldn't figure it out. It's not in the instruction manual, and what we saw in the forums didn't clear it up. Acceleration, hey, it's good, it's fun. You know, you're definitely going to be using the giggle pedal a lot in this vehicle, and that gets you to the mileage, which is, it gets some. Okay, I think it's rated 17 and 23 is what it's rated for. If you keep your foot out of it, yeah, pretty close. I think we're getting about 16 combined, to be honest with you. You know, it's good. Actually, on a road trip, this thing is actually not bad. I mean, road trip, we drove an hour and a half each way to where we had to go, and it was good. I mean, it's quiet, it's comfortable, it's nice to drive when you're tired. The instrumentation is good. It's very, you know, it has sort of a, it's not retro, but it's sort of like a racy kind of thing, and it's good. Some of the signals and some of the information scattered a little bit. That's fine. You get used to it. You figure it out. At the end of the day, how does this stack up against a Camaro and a Mustang? Well, it's been a couple years since we drove a Camaro, but still can remember it. The Camaro was good, just wide, and you couldn't see out of it because of, you know, the high shoulder height and low, just low glass area. This is a little bit better, but it still has some pretty glaring blind spots. Oh, by the way, no backup camera in a $51,000 car. Really? Which this thing desperately needs because of some of the blind spots. The Mustang, it's smaller, it's lighter, it's more nimble, much better steering feel. This is a little numb, to be honest with you. It's sort of a mixed bag with this, to be honest with you. This really, for us, is choice number 3, because we think the Mustang and the Camaro do everything better. Not to say this is bad. Hey, if you're a Mopar guy, or gal, you're gonna love this thing. It makes good noise, it's comfortable, it drives well. It's just hampered by a platform that's big, okay? If this thing was 500 pounds lighter, a few inches narrower, you know, I think it'd make all the difference in the world. That said, when you stand outside and you look at it, it's beautiful. The proportions are spot on. You'll see in some of the images we roll in here, I love the way it looks. It has a nice stance, the wheels on it, which are the new 14 wheels, which are sort of that smoky chrome. It just looks really good. Unfortunately, the looks and the performance just don't quite match up for us. And that's a little sad, because this could be so much better.